drummers against implied timekeeping, Richard DeAlbis. I want to kind of respond to a couple things that I was asked and what I saw when I was commenting on some things. And it's based upon an idea of a lot of drummers who have watched Periphery's drummer Matt Gartzka and some others experiment with the stuttering of timekeeping. And what I mean by stuttering, it's the idea of playing time in this fashion, something like where you're moving time in a kind of a wave form. And it is an interesting and innovative idea. And I want to give hats off to Matt Gartzka, because Matt came on around 2014, 2015, and he's a really interesting and technical innovator of our instrument. But the idea of this stutter and this bending of time has been around about 40 years previously. I had the opportunity to watch Max Roach, the great jazz drummer, one of the greatest bop players ever, play a drum solo with a band at Carnegie Hall in 1974, I think. And this idea of bending time, he did a solo. He started the basic rhythm between bass drum and his hi-hat. Kind of a flow like that. And he played over it, very elegant and interesting, because he was always trying to push the envelope. That's why Max is known as one of the greats, no question about it. Max Roach, if you don't know him, get to know him. His abilities were extraordinary for his era. He was the man on drums. Now, the music he was playing was an improvisational form, jazz music. I'm sure most of you realize that. So it lent itself to experimentation constantly. But we fast forward 50 years or so, and I'm of the thinking, when you're playing progressive type of music and you're using different time signatures and you're venturing around figures in different ways, this stuttering, this bending of time starts to take on a little bit of a negative approach to songwriting, is the best way I can describe it. Because rhythmically, as drummers, we're attracted to new things. And that's where Matt Gartzka and various other guys are doing these things that would any young drummer with any intuitive or inquisitive mind is going to be drawn to. But I want to remind those younger drummers it's been done previously by Max, and I'm not sure of anybody else. But this idea does not lend itself as well to progressive music as it did to jazz, maybe because of the nature of the music. But what I'm trying to get younger guys to understand, the experimentation I saw Matt do, and a lot of young drummers liking it, and they're starting to do it. They're bending and stuttering the time. I think it sounds fun for a momentary time, not too long. Over the long term, it starts to take on a distorted sound inside, is my overall view. So I'm trying to fight that by saying the antithesis of this is James Brown. Because the drummers in James Brown are trying to do straight lines. They're never bending time. They wouldn't dare have bent time or experimented in that way in those 60s and early 70s like that. But what I'm trying to say is bending is fun and experimental, but it's fleeting, and don't do so much with it. Because I heard Matt is doing so many advanced things. He's playing patterns and bending time, and the band is trying to write to these patterns. And that is not songwriting. That's just trying to fit things like a puzzle to a pattern. And there's limitations to that. That's what I'm trying to get across to this camera, to any of those drummers who look into what I do and think and say. All right? So hats off to Matt Gartzka. But what Matt is doing with Bending Time and various other players, and I'm watching what's coming in on the channels and Facebook feeds, that this is not where any drummer would want to put much time into it. Max put some time into it, but of course he was a mean timekeeper. So you'd have to be a really high-end timekeeper to kind of experiment with stuttering and bending of time. But again, the idea, as I've shown before, call and answer. One, just one bar in, one bar out. 8 beats in playing through it is the idea, call and answer. Because this will allow you to play other things. If you want to bend, stutter, play with rhythmic structures that are bending, this is good. But don't get the idea that this is that advanced. It isn't. It's been done before, as Max did it. And it is, I think, Nigerian-based drumming, West African Nigeria, that a lot of these drummers, many years ago, maybe hundreds of years ago, in African linear drumming, they would bend time in this way. And I think maybe Max took this idea, and Matt Gartzka, maybe various other guys, and started to experiment. But I think overall, it might not be where you want to put time in, because it takes time to develop it. And how does it apply to a song? Not much. Not unless the rhythm is written specifically for some other guitarist to work with it and then try to make a song out of it. All right? So hats off to these people. But as I say, look for basic time and not bend as much. It should be something of a fun for a moment as an exercise. And that's it. All right? Again, this is my opinion only, as you know, as a disclaimer. But this is what I'm here for crying out loud, is to tell you the things that you're looking at and seeing I'm enjoying as well. I've just been looking at it longer, maybe 52 years, looking at it. And so, of course, when I saw Matt doing his thing, I immediately thought, gee, that's Max Roach at Carnegie Hall, 1974. But Matt's things are more technically advanced, because you're looking at over, almost 50 years later. But it worked better in Max Roach's jazz form improvisationally than it does, let's say, progressive music. All right? If you have any questions, feel free to contact me here. I'll answer any question with drums at all, anything, historically, drums, anything. And welcome everybody who's visiting for the first time. I have hundreds of videos, over 300, teaching open-handed position playing to advance your independence, your creativity as a player, all right, and your power. If you haven't, please subscribe. Your subscription is the support to what I do. Thank you for that. I'll leave my PayPal account in the box below. Anything you can do to support what I do, thank you. So this is just kind of my rant regarding some of the reaction from a lot of younger drummers of the great Matt Gartzka and various other drummers that are doing the idea of pattern forms and bending of time, all right, or the stuttering, as I would call it. All right, let me know what you think. Keep me posted on what you're doing. If you have any questions on the particulars of what you're up to, send it to me. I'll always respond and help in any way I can. Take care. My best.